You know how not so long ago I made a video talking about how I wonder if girls who grow up with bald or balding dads are more prone to end up marrying or dating guys that are bald or balding. Because if they had a positive relationship with their father, then they might actually associate this attractive bald or balding guy as security and confidence and all those things that females actually want out of a guy. And it's so funny because when I look at the hair loss haters, I mean, have we memorized these stereotypes yet? If you're a hair loss hater, you comment on multiple videos with really long comments, you promote drugs to save your hair, you assume I'm obsessed with hair loss, not actually making money, you have a very toxic tone and outlook, and you get bored and disappear after a couple weeks. See, those guys, they believe that the way that you get a girl or you get a girl to marry you, whatever it is based on whether you have hair and how handsome you are for your age. That's what they believe. But people like me know it's all about psychology. It is all about psychology as far as you being attractive to a female. Now I get it, oh, but Nick, all these dating apps, all the swiping that goes on, they're not gonna pick a guy that's balding versus me. Well, you know what? If it's that much of an issue, stop going on the dating apps and go out in real life. Charm is what matters. Making a girl feel special and attractive, making her think that the time that she took to get dressed and fix her hair and all that stuff that you don't even really notice, when you convince her that it was worth her doing all that to be there and you acknowledge that, it's all about psychology. I know that now. I think I've always known it. I just wasn't as good at it. But now that I've been married 10 years, it's given me all kinds of experience to understand what women are actually looking for. But insecure men who don't know this are going to look at their own worst physical flaw and magnify it and think that's the reason why they can't get girls. Going back to the whole point of this video though, in the same way that I believe, think of how many bald dads there are, or balding dads there are, and how many daughters there are that have those for dads. Naturally, they're going to associate positive masculinity despite the balding, right? So with that being said, what about if you grew up with your own dad balding or bald, and he was a positive person in your life? I want you to think about this. You grew up, as long as you can remember, your dad was experiencing some kind of balding issue or just flat out was bald. But he was a good dad and he was there for you and he loved you and you knew that. You had a positive relationship with your dad. Okay? Can you imagine that someone like that, as they become an adult, that kid, as they become an adult, and they start seeing that they too are balding, well, it's probably not a surprise if they saw their own dad. Well, they probably always knew, yep, I'll be like my dad and I'll be balding in my 20s and 30s, right? But not only that, not only would they be expecting it, but they were sort of prepared for it in a way that other guys couldn't. So contrast that to this story, okay? What about a guy, he looks at his own dad, positive relationship with his dad, okay? His dad has a Norwood 1 and a thick head of hair, and the guy's dad is in his 50s now or whatever. Because this guy that's now in his early 20s is already Norwood 4. I mean, he's practically bald or balding at this point. I would say that in theory, that guy is going to be much more troubled by his balding as he's balding, because he looks to his dad who's in his 50s, who has all his hair, and now he looks at himself thinking, if that's my dad, how did I end up like this? He didn't grow up having a balding dad, and now he's having to experience something that his dad never did. So I think that's another reason why hair loss bothers certain men a lot more than it does others. When you grow up with a father who is balding, experiencing that in some capacity growing up, and you were aware of it, but you still had a positive relationship with your father, I would have to think you're going to handle it that much more, that better than the guy who is just surprised with it and then there's his dad with a full head of hair. I think it absolutely would make a difference. I think I was more prepared for it than most of you or many of you. And the irony is that I look in the selfie cam and think, how do I even still have this much hair? I've been prepared to be virtually bald as of several years ago. I never thought I'd make it much past 33 with much hair. So the irony is that I was so prepared for this thing that it didn't happen when it did, so that now whenever it does, whether it's 3 years when I'm 40 or 13 when I'm 50, whenever it happens and I have enough diffuse thinning where I'm virtually bald, you can imagine I'm so past the point of being prepared for it. Hair loss theory. If you grow up with a father who was balding or bald, and you had a positive relationship with him, chances are you're not going to be bothered by your own baldness when it affects you. What do you think about that? In the comments, right here where it always is.